another day to help stimulate the mental. Time to strategize, huddle up, where's your circle? I can feel the movement radiate through the convo. Talk is cheap, turn your faith into work. I drink my second cup and put my hands in the dirt. 2 cups, drinking straight drip from the earth. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. One for the wake up. One for the wake up. Two for the work. Caffeinated conversations, you heard them here first. Welcome back to 2 Cups Cafe. I'm your host, Alan Jackson, aka 2 Cups, who I have joining me today for a high-level caffeinated conversation is recording artist Thaddaeus Washington. What's up, Dad?
What up, Big Al? What's happening, brother?
Oh, man, nothing much, man. I'm so glad you joined me today, man.
It's a pleasure to be here with you, bro.
I'm just excited, man. You got a lot going on, man.
Yeah,
You've been so busy. I was seeing, man, all the work you've been putting up, man. For those that don't know, my listeners, my viewers, just tell us a little bit about yourself. And like I said, you're a recording artist, but what does that mean? How you want to tell the people about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really simple. As you stated, I am a recording artist, but aside from that, just a man, businessman, family man, love God first, love people, but music is a passion. Creating music, creating spaces to where, the music can be infused in people's lives to help bring about change and, just do my part with the gifts and talents that I've been given by God while this time on earth to, bring about some change, man.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, and you play the mean guitar, man, and
Appreciate that.
mean guitar. But where's that sound come from? I mean, you're not an old man, not by any means. But for those that will listen to your music, man, I mean, you got a real mature sound. Like, where's that come from?
Yeah, so I was raised in church. My father, who was my biggest inspiration when it came to picking up the guitar, phenomenal guitars. So I remember growing up and being at the church. I started off on drums, and from there migrated. I played drums for probably about 7 or 8 years of my life, and then I just came about one day thinking about picking up the guitar.
Yeah,
people ask me for a long time, like, you ain't gonna play guitar? My dad, like I said, he's crazy. He's on, multiple other records that I have on the first album, and but I was like, no, my dad is the greatest guitarist. I highly revered in my book. I don't even want to touch it.
Okay.
But one day, man, I was sitting around and I was like, I want to learn how to play. I went to him. I said, Pops, you teach me how to play? He was like, yeah. He went and brought me a guitar. And honestly, the rest has been history. It's crazy, but I never really studied a lot of guitarists. So people always ask me, like, yo, who's your, you listen to Jimi Hendrix? I started doing the national anthem. And everybody was like, yo, you sound just like Jimmy. I had never watched Jimi Hendrix's performance. I never studied guitars. I listened to my father, and he introduced me to another guitarist, Jonathan Dubose. But other than that, I never really studied any guitarists, man. But as time has went on, I have, gained more of appreciation for those who came before me and, kind of laid the groundwork and just every day, just trying to get better, man. But that sound, that's where it comes from.
Yeah,
in God, bro.
That's phenomenal, man. Another question I had. So, I know you say you started playing the drums, you playing the guitar. So, where the lyrics? The lyrics are those things you've been through, or those just you're reading, you studying, and then something come to you. Like how you come up with those?
So that's a great question, Al. The lyrics, honestly, they do come from life experience, and ultimately, just kind of being to a place to where I'm trusting myself to be able to create.
Yeah.
Genesis, first album I ever released, 2020, Thanksgiving during COVID. I just wanted to get that out. There were several records on Genesis that I had created years ago, and it was just one of those, let me just get this out. After I released it, I wasn't even thinking about writing. You know what I mean? There was one song on there that me and my dad co-wrote, Free Your Mind, but I didn't sing on that album, and I honestly had never really been a fan of my voice and thinking that, hey, I can sing and I want to put music out that I write. I just wanted to play.
Right.
But, after getting that out and just spending time, alone and listening to my team, listening to people around me, just kind of like, yo, you you're an artist now, and not just as a musician and, you know, as a just creating the instrumentals, but explore this thing. So I started exploring it, got me a little journal, started writing some stuff, piecing things together, and now, you know what I mean, through prayer, honestly, I was asking God, I said, God, I want to be able to not be known just as a great artist, but a songwriter, performer. So even now I'm in the midst of growing in those areas, and things that have happened, you know, even from the new album, there are songs on there. Everything is from a life experience.
Yeah, I was listening to that. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. And you know that song,
crazy.
I'm sorry. You think about it. You can position it however you want to. It's up to the person who hears it, where they place it. But that song for me came from a place with God. You know, so many times we tell God we're gonna do this, we apologize for this, and we're going to make changes, but we don't. And that's just where that came from, you know what I mean? Just thinking about the fact that, sorry, I made this mistake. I know I messed up, but I'm going to own it. And I think the same thing applies to life. There are a lot of relationships, whether it be with family, you know, your spouse, friends, to where we don't really want to come and apologize, but I think that a lot of people feel those sentiments, and I've gotten that feedback like, man, yo, you made me think about something I've done, and you know what I mean? Like, that hit home. So that's just what I want to do with the music that I create, inspire people, and, you know, it come from a real place, because for me, that's where my inspiration comes from.
Okay, that's awesome. And I also was thinking about you saying a little bit earlier about your team, and that's just so valuable that you have some people around you. Like you say, you first started off making the music, making the instrumental tracks, and then you said you wasn't really a fan of your voice out the gate, but then you talked about how you had a team of people around you to kind of push you and encourage you. Man, it's so people don't realize, like, you gotta have a team. You gotta have somebody around you that not only just be a yes people, but people to push you outside of your comfort zone. And that's what I'm finding out for myself too, because, you know, this wasn't really my comfort zone at first, but you know, it's some things that, some lyrics to be sang or some instrumentals be played that nobody won't hear unless it comes from you. Man, and some of these conversations, you know, we having on, you know, 2 cups, I feel like, man, somebody might not hear it unless we talk about it.
No, without a doubt. And I think it's amazing that you stepped out to, you know, embark upon this journey of getting this content out, having these conversations, because, again, I say it all the time, we live in a world now that is much noisier than it's ever been. There's so many distractions, there's so much negative stuff on the internet and out in our world. So to have some positive conversation, the people that you are bringing on, you know what I mean, that have life experiences that are not about themselves, but doing the work in their regular lives to help inspire others, I think it's amazing, man. And like I said, I'm happy to even be a part of what you're doing in this journey. I think it's great. And like you said, the team is important, man.
Definitely.
My team is, you know, whether it's big or small, you got to have individuals with you. Nobody can do it alone. More times than not, my core team is my brother D and my dad. But, you know what I mean, anybody out there, no matter whether you got one person or 5 or 10, get you some people around you that believe in you first and foremost, you know what I mean, that going to come alongside of whatever your vision is and help push you constructively, but also the things that you don't want to do. You know what I mean? I did not want to get into singing. I did not want to get into doing video content. You know, now we went from shooting one music video, our first music video, Sun Will Shine Again in New York. We jumped up and done that. There was no plan. We didn't have no storyboard written out. We was in New York, got up about 6 a.m., got up that morning, walked over to Central Park, and let's go. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to do it. In the middle of it, I'm like, man, I ain't feeling this. If you go back and watch the video, you can see from the beginning of it towards the middle, I go from almost barely moving my lips to like full in. But along that way, D's like, bro, come on, man, what you doing? We stopping him. I'm like, what you doing, bro? He like, man, you ain't feeling it, T. You got to get into it. I'm like, man, I ain't. But I needed that to push me out of my comfort zone, right?
For sure.
And that is a part of the reason why now, today, I'm continuing to grow. But that team is very important, bro.
So what would you say for like somebody that's a young, you know, we got a lot of musicians that grow up in church. They might learn from school, the band. But what would you say for them that trying to go from playing what somebody else had them play to kind of like really going searching on the inside and playing what they feel.
Absolutely. I would say find your sound, whether it be instrumentalist, being in a band, being an artist. Find out what fits you. There's always going to be duplicates, and that's easy to do.
Right.
But people want to know the real you. We don't need another this artist, that artist, because at that point, we might as well just listen to them.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that you can't glean from other individuals who have done things and to be inspired, but find out what's true to you. I spend a lot of time out every day. I spend at least 3-4 hours on my guitar, whether it be the acoustic or the electric. I got guitars all around the house.
Yeah.
I just pick up and I just find what works for me. I'll listen to something and I'll be inspired, but more times than not, it's in that quiet time. I may play the same note or in the key of A. I may start off with single notes that may lead into something that becomes a song, but it's just starting off of just me feeding off of what's inside. What am I feeling? What am I hearing?
Yeah.
And, my dad always told me that when I was growing up. He said, "Thad, find your sound, be original to you." My dad has always had his own sound. And I said I wanted to be me. I manifested. I wanted to have my own sound. And people hear my music today, whether you love it or, don't really care for it, you cannot deny the fact that when you hear me, oh, that's Thad. That sounds like that. Yeah. So what I would say to anybody is find your sound and never, never, never stop believing in yourself. Always talk faith, talk to yourself. Get around people who can see the real you and say, hey, you got this, even when you don't believe in it, because there's been plenty of times where what I've had, even down to the fact I produce all my own music, I write all my own music, and sometimes, I'm like, dang, man, I wish I had a full band.
Right.
I wish I had these pieces, and it's like, bro, that's you. I've gotten called to do gigs and to do events, and they called me, and I'm like, I ain't got no background singers. I ain't got no band. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to do it. And right there again, let's go back to that team thing. These like, bro, they called you because they want you.
Exactly.
And that's important to understand that whatever you have, your gifting that's unique to you, God gave it to you. Yeah. Trust in that 100%. And always figure out what you need to do to expand on that. And I think the rest, you'll figure it out, and you just got to keep going.
Yeah. So where did that mindfulness album come from? I mean, I know I work with at-risk youth. They deal with a lot of trauma, a lot of mental health things. But when you had released that mindfulness album, it really resonated with me because I know the noise that they listen to on a daily basis. And sometimes I put on different music and they're like, oh man, why you playing that? You in your feelings? Why you doing this? I'm like, no, man, you have to balance what's going in your ear gates, man.
No, mindfulness is important. So back in 2020 during COVID again, I had a lot more weight on me. I was dealing with a lot of stressful things. Just I think like everybody was in the house eating a bunch of food you don't need, not really exercising. But and shout out to one of my mentors and great friends, Diana Patton.
Okay.
She is a big part of what opened me up to meditation and mindfulness. I had heard about it my entire life, but again, growing up, Black community, it wasn't nothing talked about. Meditating, I heard about it from a church perspective, but I never had anybody really around me that I could see and look at and say, oh, they're practicing meditation. But with her, she introduced me to it, the importance of it, getting quiet, mindfulness. And I started meditating then. I bought a bunch of books on different types of meditation, transcendental meditation, yoga, learning about getting quiet and practicing your breathing. And when I started it, I seen the transformation that it was having in my life. I felt better about me. I was able to make decisions, about my life, and when it came to work and showing up and family and everything, a lot clearer because my mind was clear, shutting that noise off. And I started off, Al, with breathing exercises for like 60 seconds, just sitting there. Breathing and seeing the fact that, man, just one deep breath, the change that it can have on your emotions and everything, it really was a game changer for me. So I started creating some music just around and just playing around with some things and using it for myself as a tool. But then the more I seen what was going on in the world, I was like, hey, here's an opportunity for me to share with the world something that I use, you know what I mean, on a daily basis, or more or less often than not, to be able to help somebody else. And it has been a great tool that individuals have used, because we need that, man. You got to find time. And not even find time, you have to make time.
Yeah, you got to make time.
To get quiet. And the music is instrumental. So it's something that you can use, whether it be in the background. So there's a lot of individuals that use it while they at work. In their background, it ain't, you know, too high frequency to the point to where you got a bunch of, you know, low end and everything that's rumbling. But you can use it for meditation or, you know, just something to relax you. But that's where that came from, man. And it's the first of many, because on this journey, I think the more we go through life and the times that we're living in, we're going to have to find more spaces. Mental health is popping up. You know what I mean? It's a big thing now, but it's always been. You know, you go back in history.
It's always been a thing that, you know, we don't talk about. Absolutely. Or we label it something else a lot of times. But, you know, a lot of things, like nowadays we talk about mental health, I think it's important because it takes the onus off of outside.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of things happen in our childhoods or, you know, things like that, or in school, and we say it's somebody else's fault.
Of course.
Okay, but as long as it's somebody else's fault, then you don't think there's nothing you could do about
Absolutely.
it. But when you talk about mindfulness, you talk about just learning things about yourself, or learning about, you know, why you feel a certain way. Now you could take the power away from
Absolutely.
all the outside things and really get into yourself. Man.
Definitely, man. And it's top priority, because if you don't prioritize self, you can't show up for nobody else. You know what I mean? And everything that you do, you're a husband, father, you know what I mean, businessman, pastor. If you don't take care of Al, if you don't find time, and no matter what it is, whether it's taking a walk, finding some time in the car in between a meeting or an appointment to say, hey, I'm going to take some time here and just chill. I'm going to get settled in myself, close my eyes, breathe. Man, you show up in all of those areas a different person.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? So it's important to prioritize mindfulness, and that's where the mindfulness album came from. And there are a lot of opportunities that are going to be coming up in the near future that I'm going to be using that as a tool, and just, you know, forever being a spokesperson for it.
Definitely, man. That's, like I said, I can't talk about that enough, because, like I said, I deal with young men that listen to mostly noise.
Yep,
you know what I mean? This is mostly noise.
Man.
I remember when we came up, we would have like instances where my mom might be cooking, or, you know, she might be cleaning up, and she'll have music playing. You know, it's something different. But now we know, like, even when I got a 10-year-old daughter, and we could be in the same space, and I could be listening to something, and she could be listening to something else. But I try to just get through, like, no, we have to have that. I feel like music is like that bridge that, you know, between generations a lot of times. You know, you can understand so much about, you know, what our aunts and uncles and grandparents went through from the music. That's why I say you got a mature sound, and I can really tell, like you talk a lot about your dad and how important that relationship is.
Definitely.
So what do you think you could do, like, to, I guess, give that what your dad gave you? Like, are you working on anything or where you could impart that other places, because everybody don't get that?
Yeah, no, man, absolutely. And I think more or less, more times than not, and my dad is, you know, and I think that's kind of where I get it from. Although I have these opportunities to where I'm put out front a lot, you know, creating my music, I got to get out and I got to sell it. I'm the person that's got to get out. I got to perform it.
Right.
I would rather be behind the scenes, though. My pops is the same way.
Okay.
But what I try to impart, and what I try to, you know, at least share with the rest of the world, is the fact, and bring our relationship to the forefront. At the end of the day, me and my dad talk every day. If me and my dad don't talk every day, at least 4 times a day, something wrong. Because that's our relationship. And we don't always get along. We don't always agree. But that's my man. You know what I mean? He's always there for advice, constructive criticism, hold me accountable. You know what I mean? Help me to become the man that I am becoming, and who I have become. My dad always talked to me. A lot of people don't know. My parents divorced when I was a lot younger. But my dad was still always there, even though he wasn't in the home with us. He was always that constant, you know what I mean, to try to be there, to show me how I needed to deal with my anger. I was angry when my parents divorced. So I struggled with a lot of things internally. I felt like it was my fault.
Right.
You know what I mean? That things didn't work out. But he was always there to help me find other ways and instill in me, hey, you know what I mean, handle this like this, and leading by example. So what I would say to anybody, if you don't even have your biological father, find somebody that's a figure that really you can trust and that can instill those things into you to become the man that you're supposed to become, and not just by what they say, but what they do. My dad has always told me that, you know, pay attention far less to what a person says and more about what it is that they do. And there are a lot of great mentors out here. There are a lot of fathers out here who have not always done everything the correct way, but they need to be given another opportunity. And us as sons and son figures, we need to be able to look to our fathers who have made mistakes and haven't done everything right, or individuals like yourself, to the young men that you represent, you know what I mean, in your organization, in your business. I'm sure they look to you as a father. Yeah. And any young men that may see this, I would say the same to them. Find individuals that you can glean from and learn, and do more of listening and taking in and being a sponge than you do talking and always feeling like, hey, I got to give this. Because that's something that I struggle with for a long time, feeling like, you know, I'm a man now and I want to, you know, I got my perspective. And yeah, you do. But at the end of the day, man, from the age, I'm going to be honest, from the age of at least probably 12 all the way up to, and I'm 34 now, and I still feel like I don't know nothing. And I don't know. You may feel that way.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? But you always be a sponge, man. I'm still learning, man. I'm a student in everything that I'm doing. And when I find myself getting too ahead of myself, and I have conversations with my dad sometimes, I always tell myself, again in that quiet time, hey, bro, you don't know it all. And you don't know as much as you thought you knew there.
Definitely.
So be humble and be teachable.
Definitely. You have to stay teachable. I know for me, like, growing up, you know, I didn't have my dad, but, you know, I'm able to look back and see if I might have had a coach or a teacher.
Absolutely.
You know, but for me, becoming a mature adult, I try to tell the young ones, like, you can recognize, like, the mistakes in somebody else.
Absolutely.
But still be able to take what they trying to tell you that you know is from a good place.
Oh, man. Absolutely.
Like, you know, I mean, it might be, you know, when we were coming up, men still drank, you know, 40 ounces out of a brown paper bag, but they might see you doing something wrong and try to tell you, like, hey, little buddy, you know, you don't want to do that, this and that. You be like, oh, man, what you going to tell me? You know, you were drunk. But then when you look back at it, it's like, no, somebody could still have a flaw, but if somebody trying to give you some wisdom, you know, you have to be able to accept it, you know?
And because we always going to be a work in progress, and every day you take it one day at a time to grow and try to become better. And be in competition with nobody but yourself.
For sure.
That's something I preach to myself every day now. I'm in competition with nobody. I'm just trying to be a better version of me every day.
I know being in music, that's probably, you have to take that mindset.
Oh, man, I'm
telling you. So many, you go on Apple and pull up millions of artists.
And Al, I'll be honest with you, bro, I don't. Like, a lot of people, and I don't know if it's, you know, something that some people may say, what, you don't? I don't even pay attention to a lot of other outside artists and things that's going on. Not because I don't appreciate it. I'll come across some stuff in our ears and be like, man, that's nice, they dope. But I just focus on me, you know what I mean? And doing what it is that I was created to do. Because number one, I'm realizing more and more now, even at this age, at 34, I'm unique in myself. You unique in yourself. So, yeah, you see a lot of other podcasters out here and they doing their thing or whatever. But at the end of the day, sometimes you can become too fixated on what else is out there and what other people are doing, even if it's similar to what you're doing. You'll lose track of you. You get to doing something and then be like, well, this don't look like that or this don't sound like that. And I had to stop myself. I found myself listening to stuff. I'm going to try to create that. That ain't me, though.
For sure.
So I want to do what's best for me, what speaks directly to who I am. So I think that's important to focus on you, what's ahead of you, you know?
Yeah, I think, like, just watching you, you know, I think, like, music is, like, part of, your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So it's not something that you just doing because, you know, you want to be seen or you want to, you know, be heard. But it's like if nobody even knew that you played the guitar, you'd be at home playing.
Oh,
so
man,
that's
always, you know what I mean? Like, even now, I got So much music, man. We released, of course, Stay the Course album on my birthday this couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But trying to get the album down to 14 songs, Al, I got so much music. And, you know, you hear them talk about Prince had all of this music in the vault. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I watched... what's the movie, man? See, it's gonna work against me. Purple Rain. Okay. For the first time. I had never seen it. Everybody's like, you ain't never seen Purple Rain? Like, no, but I watched it and, you know, just thinking about he had all of this music. And I think they said something like he had enough music to release to like 2030 or something like that in the vault. But he was always creating. Right. And now, you know what I mean, with me, even though I got this album out every day or every week, when I get inspired, and I go down and I just keep creating because at the end of the day, it ain't about trying to be heard, trying to be seen. When my time comes for the world and, you know what I mean, I've had visions, I've manifested in my mind and in my heart and then through prayer that my music is going to reach the world.
Okay.
And I know that, but it's going to happen in its time. And I need to realize that every day I just got to keep getting better and just keep creating. So I keep creating and I got so much music, man, to release because it is a lifestyle, man, and you know everything's gonna happen in God's time. So you know, just always keep going, man. Keep going. Stay the course. That's my mantra.
Stay the course.
Yeah, man. No matter what. And sometimes on the course, you know what I mean, you got bends and turns. You got things that come out of nowhere that hit you. Sometimes you get knocked down. You gotta get back up.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying, and keep going because there's always something at the end. As long as, you know what I mean, you don't give up, man.
So I know your State of Course album is out now on all the digital streaming platforms and everything. Is something that you got any big plans coming up? I know like on 2 Cups Café, I say one for the wake, one for the work. So the wake, the first cup is always about your dreams, your inspirations, your ideas, your visions. And the second one is implementation. So I know you just released the album, but is there like some big picture dream that you had? Like
Yeah, man, definitely. I got some plenty of live performances coming up. Okay. Something that, like I said, I was kind of nervous about at first, but realizing that a lot of these opportunities started coming up out of nowhere, and I felt like that was God pushing me, like, hey, I'm calling you to this. Yeah. Because you can't just expect your music to reach the world only by just creating it at home and, you know, putting out some videos here and there. Right. So got plenty more opportunities for performances. I'm going to be doing like a little live residency coming up at a hotel in Detroit. Okay. So that'll be coming up later this summer and just building, man. We call them reps. Me and D just call them reps. Just in the gym. And every opportunity that comes that, you know, of course I pray about and get clearance from God, going after it. So there's going to be a lot more of just me performing my music live and creating spaces. I have a dream to create a space where, you know, you can go in and hear live curated music that's organic. Okay. Because a lot of times, like right now, if I had my guitar right now, I'd be creating some music based off of what we talking about, just the vibe. But, you know, I want to create that where people can come and just hear customly created music, organic, but it's mixed in with art. So there's somebody drawing. So we might be talking
like that.
About, you know, faith, or we might be talking about perseverance. I'm playing something based off of what I feel from that. Might have an artist on the board or drawing or painting, and they're creating something right then. There's some good food, you know what I mean? Just good chill vibes. People can purchase the artwork afterwards. And, you know what I mean, we got this music actually being recorded live right there. So you're able to purchase this, but this experience was going on live. So that's one of my dreams, you know what I mean, being able to also teach young people who want to learn. I went to school at Rogers in the jazz band. Okay. Never learned how to read music. I don't know how to read music, but I went to my jazz band teacher. I said, hey, I want to learn how to read. He started working with me, and he was like, I think you need to focus on what you're doing. I'm like, what do you mean? He said, you have a gift. You have an ear. Right. He was like, that's your gift. And he said, I may not be around to see it. And God rest his soul, Mr. Heath, he passed several years back. He said, but I believe you're going to go far just because of what you have, your knack to be able to hear anything and play it. And, you know what I mean, that stuck with me all the way. But I want to be able to, create these experiences, man, and these opportunities. And I just say, just look out, man, because, I'm just getting started. It's early. Just a student, man. I'm excited for the future.
That's awesome, man. I look forward to it, man. Just when you was talking about, talking and eating and music and painting, absolutely. I'm like, man, I'm ready to go right now.
Yeah, no, for real talk, absolutely. And creating opportunities, like I said, for the next generation, man. I didn't learn the typical way, I mean, my parents didn't send me to lessons, and there's nothing against it. I think there are a lot of people who go for lessons and they learn, but there are some kids who either their parents don't have the money,
right?
They may not have a desire to take personal lessons, but there may be something in them. You may have a kid that beats around on tables all the time. I was that kid, making beats, But then that's how I started with getting my rhythm and tempo, together and making sure my timing is good. I want to be able to reach back and inspire those kids and create opportunities for those kids, not just in the Black and brown community, but Hispanics, Caucasian, wherever. Just create a space to where you can come and you can learn from organic teachers, the organic way, because it worked that way for that person and they learned how to read and they went through that don't mean it, because if I would have never believed in myself or had people around me say, hey, man, you got a gift, you play by ear, what? I would have gave up on playing guitar and learning because I didn't go to school for music and didn't get a degree. I went to BGSU for music. I dropped out of college, but I still continue, by the grace of God, to be on an incline as it pertains to my music and growing. I can look back at myself from a year ago, even a couple months ago, and say I'm in a different place musically. Definitely. But it's because of, that mindset. So I want to be able to instill that and inspire others. And maybe, who knows, world, 2 Cups, we collaborate, create some programming or something. You know what I mean? You never know.
Definitely. Yeah. Man, I'm so excited, man. I'm glad you came by.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure. I appreciate you having me.
Look forward to, like I already listened to the album, but everybody, I need to download that State of Course, Thaddaeus Washington. Yeah. Just one more quick before we go. You still doing a national anthem at the professional sporting events?
Absolutely. And I mean, there are a lot of opportunities coming up with that. When we started to do that, it was a time where we were trying to figure out, how do I get my name? How do I get people accustomed to who I am and become to know me in the most diverse group of people that I can. I came from church.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, if the goal is to reach the world, I got to put myself in a position to do that. So we went out to the Mud Hens several years ago, had that opportunity, and we, captured that, documented it, and got it out, and it blew. We went from the Mud Hens to hockey, walleye, all the way to the NBA Finals rematch, several years back. And there are plenty of opportunities. Got one coming up the 19th, of May. I'll be doing the national anthem for the University of Toledo and Bowling Green, their baseball game.
Okay.
But it's plenty of opportunities with that, man. I'm just grateful for every opportunity. But, I'll keep everybody posted, man, whether it be through my social or through the website, just on things that are coming. There's plenty more coming from Thaddaeus Washington, and I'm just excited, man. Thank you for having me out.
Oh, no doubt, man. Thanks for coming by. And we probably have to do it again because I know you're going to keep
anytime,
keep dropping stuff
Absolutely.
and new stuff coming up, man.
Absolutely.
I just enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, and support this, man. Anybody out there listening, this is a man who had a vision, and he believed in the vision. I'm sure there's been nights where you were up writing and thinking and putting the plans together and got around some people who believed in him and got it done. And if you got something you looking to do, get the right people around you and execute. Sure. Al, I'm proud of what you're doing, man. I personally, this is no bias, but to be a part from the beginning of you talking about this,
yes, sir.
And then it coming to fruition and seeing you grow every time from every episode and everything you're doing. You know what I mean? So I want to salute you, bro.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, man.
Definitely.
Appreciate you.
Definitely.
That about wraps it up for 2 Cups today, man. Thaddaeus Washington, get his music, listen to it, follow him on his Instagram and his socials, man. And till next time, man, 2 Cups.